Picking fabric for a new quilt can be a ton of fun or incredibly stressful. There's so many different ways to go about it. Today, I'm going to share a simple three-part framework or formula that I use when helping quilters and not just beginners who feel overwhelmed. It will give you a solid starting point, and once you're comfortable, you can absolutely bend or break it. In fact, I'm going to share some of my favorite easy ways to tweak the formula as we go along. Because this formula is not about rules, it's about tools. So, whether you're shopping from your own fabric stash or from your favorite fabric store, this method can help you feel more confident about your fabric choices. We're going to think of our fabrics like the cast of a show. One focus fabric, that's the star, supporting fabrics, and that number will vary depending on the pattern you're making, and one or more background fabrics, the extras that fill out the scene, give everything room to breathe, and let the other fabrics shine. This might sound simple, and it is, as long as you don't overthink it. Let's start with the focus fabric, or star. What makes a good focus fabric? Let's take a quick look at three different potential stars, or focus fabrics, for three very different quilts. A star or focus fabric is usually a medium to large scale print, has multiple colors and or values, and I usually recommend at least 3 to 5 different colors if you want to make things easier on yourself, and sets a clear mood or vibe for the quilt. We'll revisit these specific focus fabrics when we get to the tweaking the formula part of the video, so make sure to stick around. Why start with a focus fabric? Well, because it reduces your choices, and fewer choices usually means less overwhelm. If you'd like to play along and experience this for yourself, pause the video just long enough to grab a potential focus fabric from your own fabric collection. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, I'm going to assume that those of you who are playing along have your fabric in hand. Now, take a really close look and see if you can identify all the different colors that are in that fabric. Pause again if you need to. If you still have the salvage, those color dots showing the fabric dyes can act as a shortcut. But I encourage you to try identifying the colors by yourself first. This fabric becomes the focus of our fabric story. Everything else will relate back to this piece. Since we all have different tastes, I'm going to demonstrate the next step in the formula with 4 different stars and create 4 different fabric pulls for 4 different quilts. Let's look at our first focus fabric. Remember, we want our supporting fabrics to coordinate, not clash or compete. I've pulled some of the colors I noted in our star or focus fabric. To make things interesting, I also like to include a mix of scales, large print, medium-sized prints, and small prints or tone-on-tone fabrics. But again, don't overthink this. It's not a checklist. Now let's look at this fabric. If I want a quieter, soft, and soothing quilt, I could bring in fabrics like this. But if I want to add some excitement and sparkle to the mix, I could pick up on the tiny accent colors in the focus fabric and end up with something like this. But be a little careful if you're including very bright, punchy colors as supporting actors. They might try to steal the limelight from your star if you use them in large chunks. Here's the next set, which has a completely different vibe. Moving on to the last set, the same principle applies to accent colors. Look at the lovely bits of green or dark teal in this focus fabric. I want to include it, but I don't want the quilt to become a predominantly green quilt. So I'm going to balance it by bringing in more of the peach and russet tones. Here we go. Do you see what a difference that makes? At this point, our fabrics may coordinate, but together they might feel kind of busy. If everything is bold, nothing stands out. So let's consider our extras or background characters. They may look less than thrilling on the bold, but in a quilt, these neutrals and low volume prints can do a lot of the heavy lifting, setting off the other fabrics and contributing to the overall vibe of the quilt. This is a good example of a neutral background letting the more colorful fabrics breathe. And here's another. The low volume cream print that I used for the background of this quilt floats and supports the more colorful parts of the design. And you can get creative with backgrounds. I chose to use a pastel print here. And here's an example of a dark background, allowing the other rich jewel tone fabrics to pop. Let's go back to the fabric pools we're working on today. Here's our first set, now with a neutral background, a soft cream tone-on-tone print. And here's a more vibrant version of the second set, now paired with another tone-on-tone print, this one a little more white. Our third set, this time with a very delicate, subtle print. And our fourth set, featuring a coordinating, low-volume print. So far, the supporting fabrics I've shown for the 4 fabric pools we worked on were pretty close in color and value to those found in the original focus fabrics. But remember, this formula is a tool, not a rule, so we can play with it. Particularly if I'm pulling fabric for a scrappy quilt, I make a point of going lighter, darker, brighter, duller when I select my supporting fabrics. In the photo, I marked my focus fabric with a star so that you can spot it more easily. And do you remember this focus fabric from the beginning of the video? It's from a collection by Paintbrush Studio. I want to point out here that while my original focus fabric doesn't have yellow in it, it adds a lovely bit of sunshine to the final mix. And this star fabric from a collection by Art Gallery Fabrics. So far, I haven't pulled a supporting fabric to match that darker green or teal that's in the focus fabric, and that's okay. It's strictly optional. You don't have to pick up all the colors in your star or focus fabric, just the ones you want to use. And remember this fabric by Tula Pink? I've completely omitted that rusty burnt orange accent color. I admire how it adds sparkle in the original fabric, but I like the final palette of supporting fabrics much better without it. Here are some additional suggestions for refining your fabric pull if you're not quite happy yet. First, make sure you have a range of light to dark fabrics. You don't have to have anything super light or super dark unless you want to. You just need to have some contrast. If one fabric or color is standing out too much, you can remove it. Or give it a quieter friend to help it blend in. Maybe a lighter or less vibrant version of that same color, or perhaps another multicolor print that includes that color to help it blend in better with the other fabrics. You can simplify the palette by removing one or more of the colors, or try adding more neutrals. Remember, as long as you're happy, there's no wrong way to pick fabrics for a quilt. But you might find that this formula will make it easier to create a fabric pull for a quilt you'll love. And as a thank you to my Quilting Friends members, don't forget the printable in the membership section on my channel. Instead of staring at fabric and wondering what goes together, you now have a way to narrow your choices. One star, some supporting players, and a background that lets everything shine. Start simple, build confidence, and then branch out and play. Happy quilting, everybody!